I want to visit with you for just a few minutes on the subject of closure, helping people who are unbelievers hopefully close the deal, drawing a stake of commitment to Christ. I want to begin by reading a passage that's helpful to me and I hope to you. It's in Colossians 4, verses 3 through 6. And Paul says, "Pray for us too, that God may open a door for our message, so that we may proclaim the mystery of Christ, for which I am in chains, in jail. Pray that I may proclaim it clearly as I should. Proclaim it clearly as I should. Be wise in the way you act, dance toward outsiders, making the most of every opportunity. Let your conversation be always full of grace, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how to answer everyone." Those are wise words. And it's important that as we build relationships with people and move towards helping them understand a connection with God, that we do it clearly so that they understand the recipe. And in order to make the next few minutes interesting, I'm going to use two sports analogies. One from football, the red zone. Those last critical 20 yards that lead into the end zone. Red zone to end zone. And then another sports analogy about the 9-inning game from, obviously, baseball. How the process of evangelism I'm going to parallel to a 9-inning baseball game that has a start and an end. Now the red zone, again, the last 20 yards towards the end zone. And a team's effectiveness is measured by their ability to score touchdowns. You can move up and down the field well for 80 yards, but if you can't accomplish the last 20 yards, your team's not effective. So with Search, I want to just take a few minutes today to talk about those last 20 yards and how to help a person get from the red zone into the end zone. It's relationships that move us down the field. We know that as we have been exposed to Search. And I want to talk about helping people get there, into the end zone of commitment. Now, probably the most freeing principle that we have all learned with Search is that evangelism is a process. We don't have to manipulate and try to extract a decision for Christ in 20 minutes. But chances are it's going to take some time. It's a process. But there's a danger in the process. And that danger is that we never help a person towards concluding the process of driving a stake. I heard way back this expression, a decision without a conversion is a disaster. A decision without a conversion is a disaster. In other words, we're not in the manipulation business. We're not going to push and shove to try to extract a decision, but we're through relationships over time going to encourage a final commitment. So let's talk about the 9-inning game. It's a sports metaphor, and I like it, as we apply it to helping a person come to Christ. So assuming we have just met a non-believer and we want to start spending time with them, having quality time with them. I like to say it this way: innings 1 through 3 are building a friendship, common ground things. Whether it's a burger, whether it's a golf event, or whatever, we are going to have a pretty much a not God conversation for 3 innings. Going to take some time. But we're building a transparent, trusting relationship. Then I like to say when we get to inning 4, we want to get God out on the table. We want to pop the cork on God. And I like to do it by asking a person, could I ask you a question? I have really appreciated our friendship, and I want to ask you a question that I hope isn't threatening. Is that okay? Never had anybody say no. But here's the question. Could I ask what part, if any, has God played in your life along the way? And if your answer is none, that's okay. I'm just curious, what part, if any, has God played in your life along the way? And if your answer is none, that's okay. So I just listen. I just listen very carefully and watch body language. And you see what I've done? I've given the person the microphone. They're talking to me. I'm not lecturing to them. And I'm just carefully listening. I might also add something like this. What part, if any, has God played in your life along the way? Or was your background kind of like me? I grew up in a religious organization, a church, but it was pretty much boring and irrelevant to me. Maybe you can relate to that. But I just listened carefully, inning number 4. And chances are in our culture, they'll tell us maybe a church background or some other religious organization. And as they tell me that, I have one other question in the 4th inning. Was it meaningful to you? You see what I've done by that question? I've moved from outside to inside. Or, I might say at this point, like I said a moment ago, was it meaningful to you, or like me, was it boring and irrelevant? So I've moved into their heart. That's enough for inning number 4. Inning number 5, we get together again and we're doing life, whatever that is relationally. I'll say, by the way, as we move back to where we were in inning before, I say I really appreciate your being honest and transparent last time with me about the part that God has played in your life. You said something that I wanted to pick up on. And maybe it was a question, statement. I've been thinking about it. Could you expand a little bit about that? Let's talk a little bit more. So inning number 5 is just a way to get God back on the table again. They talk, I talk. Inning 6. I might say I've appreciated talking about God a little bit. I wonder if I could ask you this. Along the way, has anybody ever shared with you the recipe as to how a connection with God takes place? Have you ever had presented to you the simple formula of how you can become connected with God? Anybody ever done that? I could say most people I know, their answer would be no. And I'll say, could I ask a favor? Next time we're together, could I roll that recipe out? I'll just draw a little picture for you that's been very helpful to people. Take about 15 or 20 minutes. And I think you'll enjoy the picture. My artwork stinks. And we'll just take a couple minutes to do that. And friends, I've never had anybody say no, because I've built some solid trust along the way. So that sets the agenda for next time. And I will also say, would you be willing for next time to spend some hang time in this little booklet called The Search? And it'll just go over in very simple couple pages the recipe for how a connection with God takes place. You'll see in the upper left-hand corner, talks about what God's like. Turn the page, what we're like. Next page, what God did about it. Next page, what our response to that is. And then a 1, 2, 3, 4 review. So would you be willing to take a couple minutes and read this over a couple of times? And you may have questions. You'll notice the back page or the back of the booklet is blank. Just jot down any observations, any questions. I'm just interested on your take. So next time we get together, we do life, and hopefully we're in a spot where I can say, friend, did you get a chance to go through the booklet? Did it make any sense to you? I just listen. I'll say, now, can I take a minute and draw that picture I told you about. And so I always have with me a piece of blank paper, and I fold it, and I just draw what is commonly called the bridge, which I am assuming you out there in the audience are familiar with. The little search booklet has a bridge in it with a chasm in God and us and our problem and how Christ is the bridge. So I draw that. And I say at the end of the drawing, could I ask you a couple questions? Could I crowd you a little bit? Never had anybody say no. I'll say, as best you can tell, which side of the diagram are you on? This side, or this side, I've crossed the bridge, or you're just not sure. And I just listen. And my next question is, could I ask you another question? Which side of the diagram would you like to be on? And most people would say, I'd like to be on the side that is with God. And I'll say, let me just go over simply how you do that. When a person realizes that they've offended God, penalty to pay, Christ left heaven to pay that, and they can invite him into their life, it simply means that when we open our lives and invite God, Christ, into our life, he'll come into our life and forgive us and be there forever. We do that by simply asking him, and I can tell you a couple of options. If you're ready to do this, you and I could pray together right now. Or you can think it through and you can pray this prayer in your car or in your bed. Or we can get together in a couple weeks and we can pray together. But I hope you notice that at the end of the little booklet, there was a prayer. Could I ask you, what went through your mind when you read that prayer? Did you feel like that's something I need to do, I might like to do? Just curious. So I just listen and do whatever I sense that person is ready to do or not to do. And I think I'm up to inning number 7. So we got a couple more innings to go. Maybe they don't trust Christ then. Maybe they do. But what I also like to do is to, where's that Explore booklet? I like to also put in their hands this booklet from Search, which will go over, which we've gone over today. And I love to give people a Bible. I like to give them the Life Application Bible, the New International Version, my gift. And you look through it and see if you'd like to go over that together in the days ahead. And so we're playing the rest of the 9-inning game. And when I get together, hopefully we can do Explore. If that's what they'd like to do, keep talking about it, but doing life together, not just doing this. And so during those times, I might say, boy, can I ask a question? Have you nailed this thing down, or are you still on your way? Have you made your commitment, or are you still thinking through? And I would say this only if I meant it. I would say, I'd sense you're on the 5-yard line. Is that a good read? Or what yard line would you say you're on if this is a football field and the end zone is a commitment to Christ? What yard line would you say you're on? I kind of think you're on the 2. And I would remind you that those last couple yards are the toughest, because they're 2 kingdoms. One kingdom darkness wants to keep you, and one kingdom light wants you to move those last 2 yards. And I'd love to help you do that. We could pray together if you'd like. So that's what I would like to share today on the red zone, helping people move towards closure. Illustration that I love to share with people to help them see that they need God on the inside is, friend, do you know what the 3 worst words are on Christmas morning? They probably don't. I'll say they're batteries not included. And usually what happens, the grandparents or the parents give the perfect gift. and the wrapping paper and packaging hit the floor, and the gift comes out of the box, and the on/off switch is moved to the on position, nothing happens. And everybody's curious and disappointed, only to see on the packaging 3 words, batteries not included. So Christmas afternoon, we have to run out and find a size Q battery at some convenience store that might be open. But you know, partner, every one of us, in a sense, has been born with those 3 words on us. Batteries not included. That's the ability to pull off life in a meaningful, purposeful way that God intended. And that's why Jesus left heaven, so that he could become a person, God in a body, go to the cross, pay our penalty because we're not perfect, goes back to heaven, and he's in the business of coming to live in our lives, bringing the batteries to pull off life. So I'm going to conclude my remarks today by rereading what I read earlier. Colossians 4, 3 through 6. Paul says, pray for us too, me and my buddies, that God may open a door for our message so that we may proclaim the mystery of Christ, for which I am in chains in jail. Pray that I may proclaim it clearly as I should. Be wise in the way you act toward outsiders. Make the most of every opportunity. Let your conversation be always full of grace, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how to answer everyone. I just hope that all of us enjoy the process of evangelism with people, but understanding we need to hopefully move that process to conclusion of helping people make a final commitment to Christ.